If your hatch has trouble staying up in your 350Z, more than likely you have faulty support lifts, these right here, this one and this one. And so in this video, I'm going to show you how I changed mine out and got my hatch working again on my car. Alright, so just to show you, this is the hardware that I will be using, or the struts. So they come packaged in two of these bags. This is just one of them. So here is the instructions. Let's see. And then so we have the strut itself, and then a little baggie with hardware. So this is the hardware. Yeah, there you go. You have a washer. This is going to go with this screw-on ball joint, which goes on the top of the hatch. And then you have these two 10mm bolts that hold down the strut assembly. So this is what I got from Amazon. It is the liftsupportsdepot.com. So basically, it's I'll put a link to Amazon or the product in the description so you can buy it. Otherwise, there's plenty of other places you can get yours. Without further ado, let's get to the point. If you have a friend or, you know, just a family member or somebody that can reach and hold it up while you work, it really makes a difference. I actually got the first one on already, so it's holding so far. But yeah, just as a heads up, it helps if you have two people, but you can also do it as one. Just make sure you have something to help support, keep the hatch up. A trick that you could use, actually, that's what I did for the first one. So the first thing we're going to do is come over here. You'll see a ball joint. So this right here is a 12mm. So you're gonna need a wrench, kind of like this right here, to go in and then just slowly and carefully take it off. I will actually be working on the left strut, just to clear up some confusion. I lost some videos during a file transfer, and so I won't be working on that one. I'll be working on this one right here throughout the video. You're gonna want to be careful when you do this, because if you strip this, it's going to be kind of difficult to take the rest of this out, and that's just going to make your job a lot more difficult than it needs to be. And this kind of screws into this hatch, so the metal frame, if you strip that, that also will be a difficult process. So just take your time, be careful. Also be careful not to have like the other end scratch, otherwise you will mess up the paint. Kind of got a little bit right there, so maybe like wrap this around in a towel or something. But yeah, you can see that I've already started on this. I've already got most of it off. As you can see, this is the original Nissan strut, and so it's blown. But basically, yeah, 12mm onto here. Oh, shit. And so I'm gonna hold this. I'm going to twist slowly, so that this comes. Shit. Okay, so luckily it fell on this side and not on that side. But you're gonna maybe want to have someone hold the roof for you, so you can kind of lay this down, or have them lay it down. But yeah, that's gonna come off like that. So I'm gonna set that to the side. This is basically what I was talking about. This ball joint has a washer, and it has, that is a 12mm right there. So you won't really be able to use a socket for that. And so once this is out, we're gonna take care of these two right here. These are two 10mm bolts. Okay, so I've loosened them up enough to where I can do it with my hand. Yeah, so I'm taking these off. I'm gonna hold this so this doesn't flop and scratch my paint anymore. But I'm gonna take this off. Okay, so that's one strut out. I might actually end up using this hardware for the struts that I bought. I've read in the reviews that the hardware they provide rusts, but we'll see. This is the hardware that was in the bag. You take that out, and then you put the washer onto the little ball joint thing, and you're gonna screw that in. Be careful not to cross thread it. Okay, I'm already kind of, there we go. Alright. Okay, so the one that they provide is actually not 12mm. It's probably about like 13mm. Luckily I have an adjustable wrench, so I'll just come around and tighten it like that. Okay. We just want to make sure that it's on pretty good. I don't want to overdo it, otherwise I might strip it trying to take it off if I ever have to do that again, but hopefully not. And so now that I've got the new one on for the ball joint, now I'm going to clean up this kind of area so that when I put the new one on, it doesn't have like a dirty surface that it's mounted on. I mean, this isn't very necessary, but I'm just gonna do it because I like to be clean. this is the new strut, the lift supports depot. So I'm going to put it down like this, where the ball joint side is on the outside. I'm going to screw those down. I'm going to screw that down right there. Grab the original hardware. So I just want to clarify something. I made a mistake earlier. This is the way the base should be kind of sitting. So the ball stud should be pointing down. They emphasize that in the notes and I still got it wrong. But basically this is the way it should be looking. So you should have the kind of hump pointing upwards and the rest of it, like this actually pointing down. The wrong way would be the reverse order. So this is how it should be installed. I had it installed like that. Do not install it like that. Install it the other way. So I'm going to screw this down into here. Okay. Alright. Okay. So I'm not going to tighten these too much. I don't really want to overdo it, but I just want to make sure they're on pretty tight, that's all. Okay. So the instructions on the paper do kind of tell you, they tell you to just take out, for the removal part, they tell you support the rear hatch with a rod to prevent it from falling. A second person should be used to help in holding the hatch. Remove and install one support at a time. I mean, they just tell you to get it out. And then they kind of do show you some figures on how you should support it. Okay, so for the installation, they say install the new ball stud and washer on rear hatch. So that's this part right here. And then they actually give you torque figures. So some of you that are really, you know, taking into consideration torque values, here they are. Oh, so they have torque specs over here too for the bottom and the top. Let's see, very important for the lower bracket, it must be installed with the ball stud pointing downward. And this is what they mean by ball stud points down. So this is the other thing. So gently snap the shaft end of the shock onto the rear hatch ball stud. This will lock onto the ball stud. Align the ball socket end on the reservoir end. If it is not in alignment, turn the entire body clockwise until it lines up. Then give it a gentle push to snap it over the ball stud. Tug onto the support to make sure it's securely attached, and then repeat for opposite side. So basically, this is the socket right here, the socket part that you're basically going to snap on to that ball joint right there. But what they don't really clarify completely in the instructions is that this right here has a locking pin. Let me see if I can show you. So that is a locking pin, and so it's actually kind of right there. I don't know how well you can see, but it's kind of blocking in the entrance for the socket. So once basically the ball joint is in there, you'll put this locking pin on, and then so the ball joint won't be able to pop out of the socket. And so what's important is the thing is you won't be able to snap it on with the locking pin already in. So what I had to do is I had to take out the locking pin, snap it on, it came on, and then after that I had to, you won't be able to put the locking pin on easily with the hatch open. So if the hatch is open, this will be oriented in such a way that the pin won't be able to reach the other hole on this top side. So what you're going to want to do is have the hatch almost closed, come in through like the side from the back, and then put the pin on once it's basically laid down. So I'll show you what I'm talking about when I actually do it. But don't lose this. This is a very important piece. Otherwise, if you don't put the locking pin in, if you skip this part after you snap it on, they will not hold. It's going to be very dangerous. Your ball joint will pop out of the socket randomly if your hatch is open, and it'll just collapse on you. Ask me how I know. Make sure you don't skip this locking pin part. And also the other thing too is this right here won't actually line up initially with the socket, won't line up with the joint. What you do is you're going to turn this. So this is like screwed on in a sense. So you can screw it to adjust to fit the actual ball joint. So this is what I meant about screwing. So like basically if the socket is facing this way, right there, see, so now the socket is facing away, you turn the socket to face the joint. And then you kind of, so you have to raise the hatch a little bit past its regular point. And okay, did you see that? It snapped right on. So now it's on. But if you keep it this way, this can pop off at any moment, especially when you close your trunk. So you have to put the locking pin in. So that's exactly what this is for, this locking pin. So I f***ed up my hands, but I got this pin on. So now that the pin's on, this is safe and won't fall off. I'm gonna be even able to take it off, and I'm going to show you how I got it on in the first place. So let me see if I could, you know what, it's actually too tight. It's locked in. It might not gonna do it, bruh. It might not gonna do it. Okay, so I took the pin out. Here's the pin. Basically, without the pin, this is how easy it is to take off the strut. And we don't want that happening when we are using the actual thing. So even putting it on like this does not secure it down tightly. You have to smash it in a lot more. But I don't want to hit it with this. I don't want to hit it with this mallet. So what I'm going to do is I have the mallet sitting right here where the ball joint is going to come. And so that's the ball joint. And as it is coming down, yeah, you'll probably hear it click into place because it needs to be hit on a little more. But when you do attach it on, it's kind of at an angle. So that's where the problem is. So there it is right there. So that's the ball joint. It's on the mallet. And now you're gonna hear, I'm gonna push down on the hatch and you'll hear a little click. That's not the click, but this will be. That right there. So now it is actually in place as it should be. The thing is, if I put it back up, it pops back out of the socket. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to right now put the pin on in this, how it is right now. Okay. I can move the mallet and it's still locked in, but if I put it all the way, if I push the hatch back up, then I can't put the pin back in. So here is the pin. And I'm going to feed it through the little hole. There it goes. So it came out the other side, and I'm just going to lock it in place. And so now you can see that this little locking pin will keep the strut from coming out. So that is all you have to do. And then after that, you successfully installed the strut. This is how it should be looking on the base part. I ended up using the original hardware. I gave it a few weeks, and the hardware that they provided started to actually rust. So I won't be using that hardware. You can kind of see it, kind of not. The hardware that they provided is starting to rust. Also, see, this is the wrong way to install it. Do not install it this way. I'm going to have to change this one right now. But yeah, so that is how you change the strut on a Nissan 350Z. Just take your time, be careful. It will be frustrating at times. And demonstrate for you really quickly how I figured out the ball joint part. So I had a broken one right here. Basically, this is the part that you're latching it onto. This is the way it's latching on. That's all that's happening. That's not all the way in, but that is. You have to hear that click. So now it's a lot harder to take this off, and you have a lot more clearance on the side to stick a locking pin through that little hole at the top and bottom. You have more, because the pin's going to go through right there, up and through there. So that's how you put the locking pin in. And now if I try to pull it out, I can still pull this out, but it's a lot harder. So this is what's essentially what was happening. That's not enough. You need that to happen. Also, before I forget to mention, to get more clearance for the hammer, I actually took this thing out of the way. It's pretty easy. You just put it in, turn it, take it out, turn it. So yeah. All right. And there you have it. That is how you change the trunk struts on the Nissan 350Z. I did one side, you basically do the same to the other side. And so yeah, hopefully it isn't as hard for you to actually hammer that socket in, but you'll hear a click when you do. So I hope this video was helpful. I hope you found it useful. If you like these videos, please like, subscribe, follow. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.